But all right, great. So we can see in here. So as you can see, we started off talking about the destructive force that is heading towards our city to destroy us all. And on Tuesday, we reviewed our portfolio, the $700 a month portfolio. We'll talk about that a bit. And this morning, we're waiting for the Fed, who come on in an hour with the minutes. We have to prepare our boys to analyze it. But here's what's going. Here's what we care about now. Tropical storm watch or tropical watch. What? Multiple. This is a bitch, right? Multiple tornado warnings in effect for Palm Beach County. So already the storm's a day away still, and we have to deal with this crap. So let's see what they have to say. This is a new one for me. I've never had to worry. I never thought about this before, but the last storm too, though, we had a couple of tornadoes in the air. I don't know what you can tell from this. I really don't. I don't think that's terribly useless. But yeah, we're under tornado watch right now. Tropical watches and warnings. Da, 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 da. See, that's me up here. Tropical watches, hurricane watch, hurricane warning. So we're under tropical storm warning. We're Palm Beach County. So this is us. And the brunt of the storm is heading north, thank God. Or, well, not thank God for them. I feel bad about that. It's like, I'm all like, go north, go north. But meanwhile, somebody else is getting screwed. A tornado watch is in effect for all of South Florida, apparently. And this is what we do. This is our life right now. It's like, doesn't matter whether the storm hits you or not, because it could shift. So here's our tornado watch area. So we're in the bottom over here for tornado watch. And this is where the storm begins. So this whole area here, though, is prone to tornadoes, and we've already had a couple today in the area. They don't last long, and I think probably Midwesterners would laugh at us for what we call a tornado. It's more like a dust storm or whatever you call it. I mean, they do they do damage where they touch, but they don't do like huge amounts of damage, from what I understand. If you happen to be unlucky enough to get nailed by it, then yeah, your house can be destroyed. But it's not like it leaves like a path of destruction across a city or something like that. But anyway, so thing is, everybody lives here, nobody lives here. So this Florida is the weirdest state. Like, everybody lives right on the coast and around here and on the coast, and you drive across and there's nothing but alligators all the way through. Alligators, and not even really farms. Like, basically it's just all swamps and alligators and whatever. So that's Lake Okeechobee, and there's Jupiter, Florida, and here's Port St. Lucie, which is where my brother is, and he's right at the bottom of the hurricane zone. So that's where we are. But like literally, oh wait, where was I? Let's get back there. Literally, there is no other topic of conversation. There is nothing else going on. This has been all week long. I mean, everybody in this area is nuts. They all stocking up. They've all got a month's worth of water and a month's worth of toilet paper and a month's worth of paper towels and plates and utensils, because they say, well, what if there's no water and there's no washing machines and things like that, and blah blah blah, and already they were out of food. The supermarkets are essentially out of food. It's like there's half that. It looks like a Russian supermarket. Like, most of the shelves are empty, and the trucks can't come down. Nothing is coming through from above Florida. That's the thing you don't realize, because the whole state's like cut off. Because there's a complete state of emergency up north. They're only letting people go away from the disaster. So people down here, we have to stay where we are because we can't go north, really. We can only go south. So everybody's going south from this area or above us, but they're not really letting anybody come from here to go all the way up like to Orlando or anything like that. That's not even a thing, because they don't want more people. They want more dead bodies floating around from idiots who go from here to there where the storm is. And again, it's a day away. It is still a whole day away, and they're acting like you're going to die if you cross this line. you know, I mean, then I guess because you got a lot of old people, you got a lot of old cars, you got people who like run it, and the gas is no gas. That's another problem, right? Here, these gas stations are they're escorting they're escorting gas tankers to Florida gas stations with police cars. You know, and not because they're going to get robbed, but just because they got to clear the traffic because they got to make sure they get to where they need to go. But many gas stations have no gas already. And that's going to be a problem. So this is kind of nutty. this is, and then I saw that terribly scary picture of the road today. I think I took it in here. Where was it? So this is what 95 looks like. Nobody's going the other way. Everybody's going this way. And oh, is it here? Ah, oh, that's going to be further down. So look at this. And there's like some giant truck tires. So there's probably a giant truck buried in there too. So yeah, the roads just collapsed because Florida is a swamp covered in, I mean, it's a swamp covered in mud, and then they put a road on it. That's what Florida is. So there's not like, you know, I'm used to living in New York, where if something cracked the road, it would be just a rock underneath it, and you just drive over the rock. It's not like that here. It's if something happens to the road, you're basically just, you know, there's a big hole underneath it. So this is bad. This isn't Florida, this is North Carolina, but I'm just saying, it's just this whole area is like, it's mud, sand, whatever. So this is what happens, and then if that happens to like 95 and it takes them a couple of weeks to fix it, how are we going to get anything? We don't have stuff. We import everything. We're like an island, you know. We're like Hawaii. We don't really make anything useful down here. You know, oranges maybe. You know, we don't have a lot of good crops for like surviving. So, I mean, I guess we have some ports, and they can bring stuff in from the ports too. You know, there's a port of Miami is pretty big, so and that should be fine. But that's crazy. And then and again, it's shortages, inflation, blah blah blah. So not to mention hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage is almost guaranteed. You know, when you're having a head-on. What did I just do? Did I just shut that whole thing down? No. So you know, when you're hitting a state with I don't know, what do we got? 20 million people? I think we got 20 million people in Florida. How many people in Florida? Pretty sure it's 20 million. Florida population, 20 million. Okay, so pretty much 20 million on the button. So that's where we are at the moment. That's really messed up. So we will see how that works. Let's see if there are any questions. No questions. Everybody's good. Just keep making sure. So meanwhile, it doesn't matter. Markets are up and up. In fact, let's take a look at that in the future hours. Oh, look at this shit. Look what's going on. That's today. That's crazy, man. So let's see. We got a war in the Middle East. We got a massive hurricane slamming into Florida, taking out one of the largest states in the country. What else is going bad in the war? We are not well. We had an election, which isn't supposed to be something that's catastrophic, but it's catastrophic. I mean, you know, it's going to be contested. So you know, we're 1 month away from a contested election. There's basically no chance it won't be. Look at the VIX. The VIX was 22 yesterday, and it's already calmed down to 2085. It's 21. So was that 2250 back to 21? Currency-wise, people are panicking into the dollar. You know, no, it doesn't matter how many dollars we print and how much aid we have to put out and whatever, and what kind of deficit we run. People still would rather be in the dollar than any of these crappy currencies. Euro falling apart. That's 110.25 to 109.75, and this is a couple of days. The yen. What the frick happened to the yen already? Jesus Christ. Oh, wow. I mean, come on. They spent like 10% of their GDP propping the yen up from 62 to 72, and it's already back to 67. They lost half of the gains already. They are so screwed. I mean, you know, you got to put that in the bigger picture. Bigger picture is horrifying. Look at this, 130, okay, 130 in 2012, and 12 years later, they tested 62, 63, 50% drop in the value of their currency. So, of course, their stock market, this is the stupid thing too. I've said this before. Of course, the stock market is going to go up 50% just based on the currency devaluation. So don't be so impressed by this, although this is incredible. They went from 10,000 to 40,000. That's freaking amazing. But you know, but half of it was a currency devaluation. Half of it was the currency getting chopped in half. And it's not just the repricing of the stocks, it's also that they're mostly an export economy, and the weaker yen allows them to make a lot more money on exports because they have a weaker yen. They pay their workers in yen, so they're paying their workers in weak currency. They're collecting foreign currency overseas, like think of like, you know, Toyota and all the electronics manufacturers and stuff. So they're getting dollars for their Toyotas. That's terrible. Toyotas. They're getting dollars for their Toyotas. Is that what it is? Could I say dollars first? Toyota. Yeah, dollar Toyota. Yeah, there you go. That's the problem. So they're getting dollars for their Toyotas. You got to reset your mouth when you're doing that. And those dollars are more valuable and much more valuable than the crappy currency they pay their workers and part suppliers in, right? So that's how it becomes a winning combination for the manufacturers. But meanwhile, we did the same thing. We went from, well, let's say 1,500, and now we're at 6,000. So we have the same gain as the Nikkei pretty much. We went from 1,500 to 6,000. They went from 1,000 to 4,000. It's basically the same gain, 10,000 to 40,000. But we did it priced in real money. that's actually kind of holding its value. So we're in way better shape. Our markets are much stronger. The Japanese market is 50% illusion. Let's put it that way. So 50% of what you see in the Japanese market is just an illusion of currency devaluation. Wow. We're actually doing pretty freaking good. And that, by the way, is also a massive flaw. When you see these guys in their three-piece suits, it's mostly the three-piece suit guys who are 50, 60, 70 years old, and they've always got some kind of tie on that's like way out of fashion, either a bow tie or like a fat tie or something like that. And they sit there in their big leather chairs being interviewed on CNBC, and they just take no account whatsoever of currency as having an effect on things. And they'll sit there and talk to you about, like, well, you know, the yen the Japanese market has also had a very strong run over the same period of time, and globally with this and that. It's like, it's bullshit though. These other markets are priced in their own currency. You have to take that into account. You can't ignore the fact that the euro has gone from 160 to 100. So the euro's lost. I don't know what that even is. 16 to 160. So it's a number. I'm obsessive compulsive about these things. I can't just say I don't know what it is. 37%. Okay, there. 37%. So the euro has dropped 37%, and then you go to say, well, look at the Euro stock index. It's gone from, in 2012, 22 to 50. So it's about doubled, but the currency slipped 33%. That's not good. So we've doubled on a 33% declining currency. That's only net 17%. That's you gotta take it out. I'm sorry, not net 17. It's a 33% slump. I apologize. So it's a 60 whatever percent increase. So you doubled to 100%. But it's not as good as you think it is. And the same thing, the DAX is from 212. So the DAX is from like 7,000 to 21,000. So the DAX of the German economy is doing better than the European economy. And that's because Germany is also an exporter. And they're all tied to the same currency. So Germany makes out like a bandit. That's why they love this euro thing when it first started. Germany's like, okay, let me get this straight. You guys buy a ton of stuff from us. And now instead of us having a strong currency and you having a weak currency, we're all going to have the same currency and you're still going to buy everything from us. Okay. That was basically Germany's decision on the euro. In fact, Germany said, okay, and you know what? We're gonna merge with East Germany so we have enough workers to enjoy this. That's the European Union in a nutshell, right? It's like Germany's like, okay, so let me see, we're gonna take over East Germany again. We're gonna take back that land we lost. We're gonna reunify Germany. We're gonna export like crazy and bankrupt the rest of Europe while we get incredibly wealthy. All right, let's get started. And that's why England was the first one to tell them to drop dead. It only took them 20 years to realize they were getting a bad deal. Economics is fun. I had this conversation with my AI. I'm like, I'm explaining stuff like that, and they're like, "Holy shit, I didn't realize that." I'm like, that is some crazy stuff you humans do. So where are we? Let us get back on track of some sort. Oh, the Fed, right. Speaking of AIs, let's be ready for this. Hello, AIs. Yes, you. Who is this? What is this session? Oh, this is a Warren session. Okay, that's fair. Warren is very clever. Okay, so, hey, it's time for the Fed minutes in about 40 minutes. To prepare, I'm going to give you the minutes from the FOMC meetings and calendars, blah, blah, blah. Meetings, calendars, blah. So it's September 18th, right? Yes. Oh, look at that brain. Oh, we're getting the minutes from this meeting. It's a good thing I understand in advance. So we're going to compare it to these minutes from July 31st. Open a new window. Minutes of the Fed. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. All this is garbage. They don't need that. He doesn't need that. Come on. That's a lot of stuff that's completely not necessary. We want the attendance. I think that's important either. The committee unanimously approved. There you go. That's what, if they unanimously approve, you don't care. All right, so all right, so it's time for 10 minutes. Here, I'm going to give you the minutes from the July meeting, and when we get the September minutes, we'll first summarize and analyze, and then do a comparative analysis. Here's the July minutes. And all right, so from July 31st, yeah. Economic activity, growth, economic activity, continue expanding. Okay, what's important is the comparison. He's just sort of, so he's I would have to tell him specifically not to summarize it to stop him from doing that. So that's his quick analysis of those minutes, which we don't really care about. What we care about is the differences that we see coming into this next set of minutes that are coming out at 25 minutes now. So there we go. Now we are ready for that. And now we can take a quick look backwards, I think. So let's see what we've been doing. So, boop. All right, so Monday, I don't know if I talked about anything that important Monday, but let's take a quick look. Well, I mean, Monday we were here, and now the storm is about here, and it is a 4 as they predicted, although it actually moved up to a 5 for a bit. A 5 would be catastrophic. A 5 would be life-changing for many, many, many people. But yeah, I was comparing the storm to Godzilla coming in and destroying the city because that's what it is. This is a monster that comes in and leaves a wake of destruction across a massive area of land. And I said the storm is actually more destructive than Godzilla because Godzilla knocks down a few buildings and leaves, whereas a storm makes damage for a 100-mile radius. Godzilla's damage is generally localized. A storm makes damage, or it could be 100 miles away. You could have floods and power lines down and trees down and homes getting knocked, buildings start falling apart, whatever. But it's mostly the storm damage and the flood damage. They're looking at, in this part of Florida, they're looking at 6 to 10 feet storm surges. So in other words, what's normal for the tide will be 6 to 10 feet higher than normal. And that means it's hard to describe because the entire ocean will be lifted by the storm because it's swirling and pulling it up. It's like a suction thing. And it pulls the ocean 6 to 10 feet higher than normal and drops it wherever it hits the land. That's not good. That's a lot of freaking water. And depending on the prior conditions, and it's already been wet, and again, Florida is not like normal places. It's, we are only sitting, you can't even bury people 6 feet down in Florida. It's like they bury people shallow in Florida because if you dig 6 feet down, you hit water pretty much everywhere in Florida. We're not that far above the water anywhere in Florida. So when you raise the water level 6 to 10 feet, you are basically guaranteeing a very, very large part of the area is going to be a few feet underwater. So water is going to be on your street or where you live 3 feet high. And there's no elevation in Florida. It's flat as a pancake. You always joke down here that the tallest mountain in Florida is the dump, where they put the garbage. That's like the tallest things you see in Florida are each town's dumping sites. So it's flat, and so there's obviously not much drainage. It's not like California where they have these giant drainage ditches and things like that, or New York where where I used to live up in Jersey. We lived on top of the mountain. In fact, that was I purposely lived on top of the mountain because I knew the geography of the place. But I lived on a mountain. It's about 1,000 feet, not much of a mountain, but about 1,000 feet high. And but in the town below, they had the Passaic River, and the Passaic River would always overflow just a few inches, and water starts falling onto the streets. And so anytime we had a severe storm or something like that, the poor people in the town below would just be, miserable for ages. I once had to go get my kids. I didn't have to, but there was a storm that was so bad that and I'm talking about without warning, during the day, kids went to school, didn't think twice about it. This is preschool, and I had to go to the preschool because it rained so hard. And then in the afternoon, they said there's a huge flood around the preschool. The kids can't get out. I had my Range Rover. I was driving, and when I got to the lower part of town where the school was, the water was up to my door. I mean, I don't mean the bottom of my door. I mean like my door where the handle was. The door was up there, and the school fortunately had a base of like 6 or something feet. So it wasn't up to the school, but basically the step of the school, you step out of the school door and you step right into the water. And they were all screwed. So I got there, so I took my Range Rover. I was going to start hauling kids out of there, and the fire department came too, and they had some contraption that was basically made for it. I guess it had happened before, but and actually I was sitting there in my Range Rover with water up to my doors, and I saw the fire truck thing coming. And I was like, you know what? My kids are going to have more fun my kids will have more fun climbing out the window and going and getting into the fire truck. So I let them do that instead of picking them up. So I just sat there and watched them do it. So it was quite the adventure, though, having to get rescued from school by the fire department. So it's different parts of the country have different effects anyway. So in this particular part of the country, though, it's dead flat. There's not a huge amount of drainage, and the homes are not built really. These homes have a door that's on the grass level, and they don't build up. And this is going to be devastating. It can't be worse. I mean, the state of Florida only has this little area and this little area. There's a lot of population, but this area and this area are the only parts that aren't going to be flooded. And the rest is going to be flooded, and this area is going to be massively flooded, including Orlando, which is going to get nailed. And if this storm comes in at a 4, you're going to see some massive, massive damage to Disney. In fact, I can't believe Disney stock is not down. Maybe it is now. I mean, this morning when I looked at Disney stock, I was thinking like maybe we should short Disney. But then I looked at the stock and I said, well, maybe I'm crazy. I mean, of course, they have insurance or whatever, but still, they don't want to be out of commission. Literally, right now, we're up 1%. There's a massive storm heading right for them that can do incredible amounts of damage to their theme park. It is also, and Universal too, of course, and SeaWorld. See, in fact, SeaWorld is more, I think they only have one park. Do they have more than one park? So SeaWorld's probably even more at risk. But you're talking about closure. You're talking about the Disney Cruise Line is going to be delayed or have to cancel trips and so on and so forth. It's going to be a lot of money. It's not going to be nothing. It's going to be, I'd say at least 100 million to 1 to 300 million, let's say, I'd say in damages. Very, very likely for Disney. I don't know, but you know, insurance, I guess people are thinking like insurance and stuff, maybe they just rebuild. So maybe they, you know, maybe they build some more cool stuff and clear away things, and they can use it as an excuse, because Disney, one of Disney's problems, they can't tear down rides. Anytime they try to tear down a ride, people freak out. You know, the mega fans of Disney, they go absolutely ballistic whenever Disney says, you know, nobody ever goes to this ride, you know, the Hall of Presidents or something like that. It's like, you know, the Hall of Presidents is like super lame because it's like robots from 50 years ago. And, you know, which is really, what do you call it? Like you know, the guy in Zoltar, you put the coin in the, you know, you put the coin in the machine and Zoltar moves a little bit, like there's a few gears inside that make it move up and down. That's what the Hall of Presidents is. It's not animatronics. It's like just some very slightly moving things that are on gears. It's got nothing to do with robotics at all. They haven't updated, so they talked about like doing something else, and people are like, oh no, not the Hall of Presidents. And honestly, I took my kids to the Hall of Presidents. There were like 8 people in the thing. So I don't get it. They changed. They didn't tear down the Tower of Terror. They changed it to, I forgot now, but they changed it to something else. That's another thing happens when you live in Florida. You're like totally aware of every single thing that's going on at Disney, like the front page news. But it's fun. It's interesting. Oh, and that, what was that horrible movie? The one that's out now. I'm blanking. Whatever it is, something that was a sequel is doing very, very badly. Oh, anyway, all right, let's get back on track. We don't have that long. We only have a half hour. So my point Monday was, oh yeah. So my point Monday was I was talking about that, and I said, and you know what else is as bad as Godzilla is get the freaking people in Beirut getting the crap bombed out of them. You know, because Hezbollah people are hiding out of it. Now, it's a weird dynamic because you would think that the fact that, you know, you would think this goes to Lebanon for Palestine too. You would think if there are terrorists hiding out in your town and Israel is trying to kill them all and throwing bombs, that maybe the people would turn on the terrorists and say, you know, just get the frick out of here, stop hiding out in our schools and hospitals and things like that. But no, that never happens. You know, it's a year later. It is 1 year later after, God, you can't even keep the people straight. Hamas from Palestine, they started this. Hamas came in and they attacked Israel and took hundreds of hostages and killed hundreds of people, and very bad stuff, very, very bad. And this, you know, in a small country too. It's not like a big country. Everybody knows everybody in that country. Not that many people there. It's like if it happened in New Jersey, you know, and it's a population in New Jersey or something like that. And it's like in New Jersey, it's like if it happened in New Jersey and you would almost certainly know somebody. It would be very hard for something like that to happen at the Jersey Shore, let's say. And they attack, and meanwhile they attacked the, you know, Giant Stadium, you know, when there was a concert going on, and they kidnapped people and murdered people and blah blah blah. 1,000-something people killed and injured at this concert. It would be very hard for you living in New Jersey not to know somebody this happened to. I mean, really know them, not like a friend of a friend of a friend, but you're going to be affected by it, and you're going to be pissed. And that's what they wanted, though. I mean, Hamas wanted to start a wider conflict in the Middle East. They want to wipe out Israel. They cannot wipe out Israel because all they have is, like, you know, guns and rocks and little grenades and things like that. And it's annoying to Israel, but it's not deadly. So they spent a long time planning this very coordinated attack that was vicious and brutal, and they took the hostages and they wouldn't give them back because They didn't want anything. What they wanted was a war. They wanted other people to get drawn into the war. So then Hamas starts attacking from other countries, and then Israel fights back a bit. Hezbollah gets into the game. Hezbollah started also with the Red Sea attacks. They were being assholes over there, and then they started attacking Israel too. And so now Israel's fighting a war on two fronts. This is exactly what Hamas wanted, and probably what Hezbollah wanted too. It's like, let's have Israel engaging all over the place until they get stretched out, and then attack again. Then Iran comes in, which is both Hezbollah and Hamas are proxies for Iran anyway. Iran is really, you think of Iran as Iran, but it's not. Iran runs Palestine. Iran runs Lebanon. They've got their proxy, whatever you call them, the groups that run these countries are mostly from Iran, and so then Papa Iran gets involved because, well, when Israel gives a bloody nose to Hamas and then starts picking off, and then Israel blew up all the pagers. Because, the first time Israel attacked, I think it was when they attacked Lebanon, Iran fired missiles, but they fired missiles saying, like, on Tuesday, they said, you know what, we're going to really kick your ass on Saturday. And then on Wednesday, they're like, yep, Saturday, probably about 11:30, 11:45. And then, on Thursday, like, absolutely, you guys are going to die on Saturday. 11:38 is going to be the time. And then on Saturday, they're like, yep, 11:38 and 30 seconds. We're going to fire missiles at you guys. And so they gave them warning after warning, and they told them exactly what they were going to do and exactly how they were going to attack and where they were attacking from. So it was more like a show to say we're being tough on Israel, but they weren't being tough on Israel at all. But then when but they also said Israel do not retaliate. Israel did retaliate a little bit, and they also really went after Hezbollah after that. So when they started going after Hezbollah and dismantling the network and doing that pager phone attack and things like that and killing the leader, that pissed Iran off. And then they fired a whole bunch of other missiles with much less warning that were still not that effective, but it was more of an attack than the first one was. And that's where we are now. And Israel is still blowing up Hezbollah. And Beirut's the capital of Lebanon. And this is what it looks like. It looks like it does not look dissimilar to Godzilla destroying your city. There you go. There's Godzilla, and there is Israel. And realistically, people in Lebanon are equally as ineffective against Israel as the people against Godzilla. It's really kind of hopeless. And it's a mess. And now, and don't forget that Netanyahu is a Trumpy. So he wants Trump to come into power because he thinks Trump is going to let him go hog wild. Apparently Netanyahu has stopped talking to Biden, and Biden's pissed. But Netanyahu is like, hey, it's 30 days. Let's see if you're still president. He's like, I'm not gonna. So Netanyahu wants to go like massively on the attack. God knows what Trump has promised him, but that's where that is. So that's bad. But it's not bad enough to keep up the price of oil. Oh, we should look at that too. So many things happening. So today was a petroleum status report. We don't run out of things to talk about, do we, in the market? So today was the petroleum status report. Last week, we didn't get the PDF. This one says October 4th. It's correct, yes. Plus. Okay. So what happened? Oil had a 5.8 million barrel increase, but gasoline down 6.3 and distillates down 3.1. So that's 9.4 plus 5.8 is 8.6 and 3. So 3.6 total draw. Better than a build, but the headline build was ugly. And oil has been doing, let's see what oil, oh, there it is. Oil has still been going down though. It's just not, it's not enough to make them happy. A 3 million barrel bill withdrawal is not enough. So let's see if anything massively changed. The input to refineries has been the same. The production levels have been about the same. The other oils, you always have to watch that. Ooh, other oils dropped by 5 million or 4 million, 4.5 million barrels of other oils dropped. So there's actually quite a lot of demand. There's a lot of a draw here out of the net. The real net draw is this total is 9.6 to 2 is about 7.7, 7.7 million barrel draw. But look at that export. We're exporting 5.3 million barrels a day. So really the drawdown is 1 day of exports and the other 6 days of exports, which is 30 million barrels, a day and a half of our total production. So 1 day of the drawdown is because we're sending it out of the country to other places. We refine the oil and we send the refined product out of the country. The other 6 days, it actually is not 30, it's 30 and then 6 times 3, it's 32. It's almost 32 million barrels of oil we are sending out of the country on a weekly basis, and we only make 20 million barrels a day total. So if you take all right, so let's just do it straight. So if you take the 140, well, all right, we know 140, so let's not use that number. Let's say 7 times 5.3 is 37.1 minus 140. So 102. So our actual usage of oil divided by 7 is 14.7 million barrels a day. That's the oil that we actually use in America. The rest, whoa. The rest of this 20 million, 20.5, so 6 million barrels out of 20. So that's 6 divided by 20, 30%. 30% of the oil that we import into this country is sent back out as exported fuel. We do not use it. America does not consume that. And that 14.7 number, we used to consume 16 million. We consume 1.3 million barrels a day less, 10%. Less oil is consumed now than was consumed pre-COVID. So we've cut our consumption of oil by 10%. But we make up for it by sending massive exports. It used to be illegal to do this. They changed the law so that we could do it because it threatens national security. When we get the oil, we're supposed to be getting it for ourselves, not for other people. So all this drill, so drill baby drill, in other words, how does that make sense if you're saying drill baby drill, but you're because you want to protect America's energy interest, but you're sending more than 5 million barrels a day out of the country? How does that policy make any sense at all? It's drill baby drill so we can be the world's largest exporter of petroleum products, because that's what we are. No single country in the world exports more oil than we do, more petroleum product than we do. And that's freaking insane. And what does that do? Of course, that drives up the prices for our consumers, because even though oil itself is $8 down, 10% down from last year, well, actually it's matching up now, it's better. So gasoline finally came down because gasoline was $3.60 last year. Gasoline's down almost 20%. Wait, 20% would be 70 cents, right? So it'd be 190. Nah, not 20%. Gasoline is down 15, all right, it's 15%, right? Because 3.7 minus 3.1415 something is 56 divided by the original number 3.68, 8.3%. So gasoline has fallen 8.3%. It is less than oil. Isn't that funny? I didn't think it was. So gasoline has fallen 8.3% and oil has fallen 10%. So gasoline is still not keeping up with oil as far as falling. And obviously that's because we're exporting all the gasoline. We're not making it for ourselves, we're making it for other people. And it drives the price up massively. And not only that though, but the demand for oil in this country is completely fake because we're buying it for other people. So it's all crazy. I mean, there's such obviously flawed policies, yet that's what we do. It's just amazing. What is that? Well, what's new in Chrome? I don't care. All right, just make sure it works. Make sure it does what it. I'm like that with all these things that upgrade themselves, except for AI. And AI explore every little thing that's changed. But in things like this, the Chrome is like, what's new in Chrome? I don't care. Just make sure you get my web pages when I ask for them. I'm sure there's some really handy features that I'm missing, but other than tabs, which frankly changed my life, because look what I do. I mean, that's crazy, huh? And I have 5 windows like that on my main system. This is my webinar system. This system is only the backup to my main computer and for webinars. But my main computer system, I have 5 of these things with that many tabs open on each one. So where were we? Okay. This was the 10-year. Oh, UST 10Y. I never can remember what that is. So that's come down a little bit, I think. No, still over 4. That's bad. Because we're in the middle of the auction process right now, and I thought we did for a moment come back below 4, but we're back over 4 again. This is very, very bad. The Fed's got no control here. How are we doing? 10 minutes. Stop charts, these cookies, go away. So there's that. And I said, I'm very concerned about that here. It's extremely bad for the economy. We had a whole bunch of stuff going on. Today, who cares? Nobody cares about any of these companies. Tomorrow, Delta, Domino's, that's real. But then Friday, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, Bank of New York, Fastenal, and don't care about them. And that's where we are, baby. It's going to be craziness, and that's only what I wrote about on. That was. All right, we'll do this for a minute, and then we're going to take a break and get back to the Fed. How are we doing? Any questions? People still with us? Fantastic. All right. So yesterday we went over our millionaire portfolio. And I'll tell you what the most important part about this. It's not just looking at the portfolio. If you go back a few, so here's September 10th. I have to put this, I'm going to put this in because it's kind of useful. So here's September 10th. And I'm pretty sure I forgot to do it here. July 9th, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the August review. Did he do it in the August review? No. Oh, Phil. Bad boy. The July review. Oh, come on. How did I see? I forgot to do it. No one ever mentioned it, and I only just realized I stopped doing it. The June review. Oh, you're kidding me. I'm annoyed. May review. Oh, come on. This is very bad. I'm trying to find that we used to have a thing. March review. Are you kidding me? It's been that long since I haven't done it. Oh, I give up. I used to have every single Oh, that's a February portfolio review. Ugh. No, I only care about the 700 month portfolio. April portfolio review. I'm sorry. That's why I'm not finding it. So annoyed. All right. Anyway, I used to do a thing where I had every single link to every single portfolio from the start, and it was getting unruly, and I think I stopped, but I shouldn't. I should never have stopped. That's the bottom line. All right. So anyhow, meanwhile, here we are on the portfolio. So at this point, we're up 80.3% or something like that. And at this pace, if we keep up this pace, which you don't expect to keep up a 36% a year annual gain, that's crazy. We were praying we would hit 20%. We expected to get 10%. So the original plan of this portfolio is we started with $700 26 months ago. And every month we put in another $700. So I want to pick a realistic number for somebody who has 30 years left to save. So you'd have to say, figure you're retiring in 30 years, you're in the 30s. You shouldn't be making enough money, and you have to. You got to do this, otherwise it's not good later in life. But you've got to be able to figure out how to save $700. Even if you have to get another job, even if you have to drive Uber a couple of nights a week, you've got to put $700 away. But $700 in 30 years at 10% will take you to $1 million. So if you want to be a millionaire and you have 30 years left to live, start now, take $700 and follow this portfolio. That's what this portfolio is about, teaching you how to invest that steady amount each month and build wealth. And the way it's worked out so far in 2 years is, so after putting in 26 payments of $700, which is, I believe, $18,200, is that correct? 26 times 700, 18,200. Oh, I gotta tell you, my brain makes me really happy sometimes. All right. So after saving $18,200 at $700 a month for 2 years, for 2 years and 2 months, we are now up to $32,000, which is an 80% gain on $18,000, $18,200. If we keep going at this pace for 10 more years, we're going to have $1.3 million. Just doing what we're doing now. Again, it's not likely that we're going to make 36% a year, but on the other hand, the profits do accelerate because you think about it, it's 36% of $18,000. That's not a lot, right? As we have more and more money, we're even if we make 10% of the larger amount of money, so we make 10% right now of $32,000, that's still $32,000. Our original amount was, our original amount was $700, but it accelerates. The original first year was $8,400, and making $3,200 against that is still 30%. So it kind of becomes, it snowballs very quickly, let's put it that way, especially because we're constantly raising capital by selling calls, we're bringing dividends, so on and so forth. It accumulates faster and faster as it matures. So even if you missed out on the first 80% gain, it's nothing, because we're going to go from 32 to 1.3 million, or we're certainly going to go to 1 million. But at the pace we're at now, we're going to hit that number in 10 years. 10 years, taking 32,000 now and committing yourself to taking $700 every month and putting it in. And the hard thing is, though, to keep doing it even though you're doing this well. Because we made what do we make? We made, we didn't make 2,700 because we put 700 in. We made 2,043. That's what we made in the past 30 days. That's 3 times your $700. we're going to start making 10 times 700 and 20 times 700. And, you know, as it keeps compounding, you're going to feel silly taking the $700 and putting it in when we're making, let's say, $5,000 in a month, like a drop in the bucket, right? So you become tempted to say, oh, you know what? I don't need to put $700 a month in. This thing's doing so well. I'll start putting in the $700, but then you screw the whole thing up. You got to stick to the plan, because if you start saying, oh, well, I don't need that and I don't need this and I can take some of this out, you ruin the whole thing. It's the snowballing is what we're counting on, but every bit of snow that you add to it is going to increase it. And as I noted, the reason I wrote, oh, here's the compound rate calculator. So it's 32,823. So we start with 32,823. That's where we are now. We add 8,400. That's 700 a month. 8,400 times 12. I mean 700 times 12. 8,400. We give it. If we give it 9 years at 36%, that's short. That's $5,000 short. That's the difference. But here's the point. One more year, you go from 995, you go from $1 million to 1.365, because that's what 36% is, right? For another year. So it gets to the point where, like, you're making $365,000 or $370,000 in one freaking year, and you're going to complain about putting $700 a month in now? That makes no sense. This should be a religious thing for you. If you keep letting this accumulate, if you let this accumulate for 20 years, and again, 36% not likely, but if you let it accumulate for 20 years, 30 million bucks. It snowballs. If we only make 18%, if we drop in half, our performance drops in half, 20 years from now, $2.3 million. 10 years from now, only 400,000. And let me tell you, 18% is probably a lot more realistic. We had planned to make 10% for 30 years. We know, based on many, you know, we've been doing this since 2005. So since 2005, we know we can make 20% a year almost all the time. You know, but you know, things crash. If you're unlucky, you have a market crash, it might take you some time to catch back up. But we know we can make 10 to 20%. That's like very much within our wheelhouse. Can we make 30% consistently? Yeah, you know, if we don't get any major crashes, then yeah, we could do that. But 20 years is a long time to count on not making that. But again, that's the difference. If you go from 18 to 20, not a big difference there, but in 20 years, now you're up to $3 million. You know, the plan of this portfolio was to take $700 a month for 30 years, and that would get you there. How much is $700 a month for 30 years? It's 360 months times $700, 252,000, and in just 30 years, we make 750,000. We're going to make a 300% total profit in 30 years. And that kind of makes sense because it's 10%, right? 10% a year times 30 years is what? 300%. And it works out that way because we're only dripping in the principal. If we started, oh, that's another interesting. If you start with $250,000, right? And you put in nothing, and you do that for 30 years at 10%, that's $4.3 million. So it's the same money, but you start. So if you have a kid and you want to make sure they have a nice life, honestly, instead of doing college or instead of sending to an expensive college, take $250,000 and do this. If just 10%, by the way, it's 10%. If you give this, if you start your kid, if your kid's born and you say $250,000 and you put it in and get 10%, you're going to have $4.3 million in 30 years. When they turn 30, they're going to have 4.3. And by the way, this keeps up with inflation because we do a lot of dividend stuff and stocks tend to appreciate with inflation. So the dividends increase and the stock price increases. It kind of keeps up with inflation. That's why we're getting a spectacular gain right now. We're getting a spectacular gain because inflation is helping us make more money. That's why we're so much outperforming. So anyway, now, if by some chance you made 20% for 30 years, if we do well or better than what we consider, like we consider 10% definitely attainable, 20% very possible, 30% not very likely. That's kind of where it goes at. But if we make 20% for 30 years and you start with $250,000 and don't add a penny, $59 million. Okay, this is moneychimp.com compound rate calculator. These are real things. You can check it 100 different ways. That's how it works. If you consistently make 20% without back tracing, without losing, and you have to catch the right 20 years, because usually inside of 20 years, there's going to be at least one bad year where things go south. So if at some point in the 20 years you lose 40%, then you screw. That's why you have to actively manage these things. You can't, and that's why sticking an IRA is never going to work like this. You have to actively manage the fund. You have to, get in, get out, so on and so forth. And that's why we outperform by a mile, because we know what we're doing. Oh, Fed. Okay, we'll get back to this. Fed. Most saw policy as restrictive. Disagreement over the degree of restrictiveness. Okay, so people thought it was restrictive and whatever. All right, so now we get minutes, HTML, open it up, minutes, la 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 la, attendance, doesn't matter. Okay, screw that, don't care. And here we go. Make sure I didn't miss anything below. No. All right, so now we go back to Mr. Warren and we say, great. Now, here are the minutes from the September 18th meeting. Here then is some September 18th meeting. First, let's summarize and analyze only. All right, so that's all CNBC seems to have to say about this is that they thought it was restrictive. So we'll see what Warren comes up with. La, 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 la. You know what I hate about this? This is what, ChatGPT. It doesn't, on my other computer, it doesn't scroll. I don't know why. My other computer has a little Dell keyboard. Maybe I should change my keyboard then. Annoys the shit out of me. If I try to use the up and down arrow to scroll, it doesn't scroll. And on this one, it does. I never noticed that. All right, anyhow. So Mr. Warren says, and this is, by the way, souped up Warren. When he's in 1.0, he's in the new one. But you can flip back to the older version, which I do because most of the time I don't really want him thinking that much. He's fine the way he is. he's designed as a streamlined AI. He's got so much. He has such an incredible wealth of background stuff. There are hundreds and hundreds of sessions in here that he's accessing. And he is really good at it. I mean, we've made him super sharp. So the brain boost thing can sometimes put him a little over the top and he starts hallucinating because it's too much for him. Cosmo, also Cosmo runs on both sides. So I don't always run him with turbo mode here because there's more errors in this preview than there are in the on the 4.0, whatever it is, which is the one I use. Not IO preview. Oh, it's 4.0, I guess. Yeah, it's this one. So that's the one I usually use. But I'm sure they'll work the bugs out of this one. Anyway, so summary. And this is great. This is great stuff. So U.S. economy expanded, solid pace first half, robust growth. Staff projected slight moderation in economic activity for the second half due to softer than expected labor market indicators. Now, this is no longer true. This is the most important thing. This is why humans need to look at these things. In the second half of the year, so far, we have not had softer economic conditions. Therefore, the staff that projected a moderation in economic activity is wrong. It's only 1 month ago, not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago that they had this meeting and they're wrong. Labor market is robust. Economic activity is strong, even stronger because we are spending $500 billion, which is 2.5% of our GDP. We're spending $500 billion in hurricane relief and crap like that. You know, I think it was John Maynard Keynes who said, old economist, but John Keynes said, even a broken window is good for the economy because somebody has to go fix it. You know, he was pointing out that, like, okay, you look at things and say, oh, that's bad, but it's like a hurricane. Hurricane's bad, but it's good for the economy. What does it do? It takes the money out of insurance reserves. So in other words, we saved for the hurricane. We save money. When you give the insurance company money, it's effectively saving. You may not be the one that gets it back, but somebody gets that money back, right? So you're saving your money for insurance for a rainy day, literally rainy day in this case, and then the storm hits and it releases those funds. The insurance company, by the way, also invests the money. So the money's out of circulation. You give it to the insurance company. The insurance company puts it in the bank in what they call their reserves. They tend to invest them very conservatively. In fact, legally, they have to invest them very conservatively. And so they're investing it in bonds and so on and so forth. Now, when there's an actual catastrophe, the insurance company has to then cash out some of their reserves and pay it out to the consumers. So the insurance company is like the government. They're throwing money at the consumers. The government is also throwing money at the consumers. The consumers need their stuff back. So their stuff has been destroyed. It hasn't been resold either. That's another thing. It hasn't been resold. It hasn't been donated to charity. It's destroyed. So you have now effectively, although it's flooded, but you set fire to all this stuff and you are now replacing it with brand new stuff, and nobody is getting free stuff or discounted stuff and won't be, and you're taking them off the market, right? Because when you give your stuff to charity, then the people, even if they're beggars who have $10 to live on, they still have to go to the thrift store and spend $1, $2 on a shirt, right? But you're taking that away. You're freeing up the beggar's money to go buy something besides the shirt because you have now donated a shirt to them. In this case, though, no, the beggar still has to spend his money. He's got to go out and buy a shirt instead of finding a shirt at the Goodwill store. And that goes to everything. That goes to your couch, right? You're not putting your couch on the street. It's dead. It's gone. It can't be used by anybody else. It's destroyed. Your carpeting, all these things that you would ordinarily have for years or give it to somebody else in your family, or somebody's going to college and you give them stuff, it's gone. This stuff is gone. So it's a much more powerful economic stimulator when you are from scratch. Your stuff has been destroyed and you are now replacing it bit by bit by bit. And you're doing that with what? You're doing that with the insurance company money that was sitting in the bank, and you're doing it with the government money that's coming hot off the printing presses because we're borrowing $200 billion a year. 200 billion, I wish, $2 trillion a year. So the government's printing the money, the insurance company is taking the money out of the bank and putting it right back into circulation. And you know what? The insurance company now has to replenish their reserves. So the insurance company is now going to start effectively saving. How do they save? Well, they get more customers, and especially what's going on now, they're basically telling 50 million people who don't have flood insurance in this country that they're going to have to start paying for flood insurance. So they're forcing more people to become customers. How do they do that? Those of you who bought homes know this. You get a flood surcharge on your home. If you're considered in a flood zone, the bank won't give you a mortgage without you getting flood insurance, right? So now the banks are going to say, well, we want this, we want fire insurance and flood insurance and wind insurance and hurricane insurance and whatever other crap, because the weather's getting much more dangerous. We live in a much more dangerous planet now. It's attacking us because we are like cancer and it is trying to fight us off. That's why it's attacking us. We're wrecking the planet. The planet is fighting back. So anyway, so the bottom line is it's more expensive to live in a hostile environment, and we are turning the earth into a hostile environment. Therefore, the insurance companies replenish their reserves by more people. So down the road, there's going to be economic harm because more people will have to pay more money for more insurance, and health insurance also through the roof. Ridiculous, miles ahead of inflation right now. That's why all this stuff is connected, and that's why it's called PhilStockWorld, by the way. So it's the whole concept of what we do here is we try to show you how things are connected, so you understand how this string pulls, that string pulls, that string pulls, that. Yeah, everything happens, and there are dynamics at work. So this is a pretty good example of it, though. Is we're going to have a period of prosperity for the next quarter or two because there will be massive rebuilding. Home Depot and Lowe's, which I said before, but the reason we didn't invest in them is because they weren't cheap in the first place. Lowe is a better value than Home Depot, but still not cheap. I mean, that's all, and also it's an expensive. When you buy $275 stock, I mean, even if you're doing options, it just gets expensive fast, and it's hard to cover and so on and so forth. But look what happened to them. 275 is 21 times earnings for a freaking Home Depot. It's like Walmart. I mean, it really is. They're not super high margins or anything like that. They're not huge growth. They have spurty growth like hurricane season. So since they bottomed out here, no hurricanes, and now they come back. So now, hurricane season officially starts in August, and people were anticipating it, and it was forecast to be a huge hurricane season. We didn't have the number of storms that they thought, but the severity of the storms are spot on for Home Depot. I mean, people have to completely rebuild. Oh, in fact, on CNBC, there was one insurance company, I don't remember which one it was, and let's assume it was a big one, but there was one guy from an insurance company being interviewed on CNBC, and they flashed a thing that's 74,000 payouts from the last storm, from Helene. 74,000 payouts from one insurance company. No insurance company has more than 10% of the market, therefore, 750,000 payouts, 1 million payouts, whatever it is, 1 million homes having payouts. And you've got to figure thousands of dollars per home. So you're talking 1 million times 1,000 is a billion, billions and billions and billions of dollars. But they said it's $200 billion total damage from the last storm. You're going to have at least that much on this storm. So you're talking about $500 billion being put out by the insurance companies and the government. But just think of an insurance company. Let's take a big one. Let's take Prudential. Is it going to tell its employees here? No. Okay, Yahoo's going to tell me that. Yahoo. Let's look at Allstate. They're more of a property guy. So Allstate has profile. That's where we're going to find it. What? Come on, you used to tell me this stuff. Allstate. Seriously? Oh my God, this is why we have AI. This is ridiculous. Hey, who's this? Sage. Oh, hell no. All right. How many employees does Allstate have and how many are probably adjusters? Oh, by the way, we're busy this week. The next week, I got to show you the new voice stuff. Oh my God, is it incredible? All right. They have 53,000, there you go, 53,000 employees, typically insurance companies, significant portion of workforce, often 50 or 25%. So they've only got 15,000 people who are actually adjusters. And that's Allstate. This company was not as big as Allstate. They had 74,000 claims. So even if they pulled every adjuster from everywhere country and sent them into the hurricane zone, which is highly unlikely, they would have 10 policies to deal with per adjuster. Probably you got to think that these adjusters, let's say they took a third of them, 5,000 people dealing with 75,000 claims, they're going to be dealing like 15 claims per adjuster. Something in that level. So 15 to 20 claims per adjuster in a company, maybe more, but that's a lot. That is a massive amounts of paperwork and interviews and inspections of the sites and so on and so forth. And then the question, how many inspectors do they have and this and that? It's all got to get done, and it's all got to get done quickly because all 20 of these people need their freaking money to rebuild their house. So it ain't going to get done in one day. It's not going to get done in 2 days or 5 days or 10 days. It's going to be a couple of weeks to try to do this, even if they're working their ass off to make it happen. You can't train up adjusters or hire part-time people. This is highly specialized, skilled work that needs to be done. That's why they have to maintain this staff in case something like this happens. They have to be able to provide a reasonable level of service. Otherwise, everybody will cancel their policies, right? I've had that. I've had insurance companies where when push came to shove and the insurance company had to pay up, and I'm not talking about a disaster, because in a disaster you might like say, oh, well, it was a disaster, what are you gonna do? But in a normal thing where I've had insurance claims and I didn't feel the company was responsible, I immediately switched companies. I'm like, okay, well, you're never getting another dime of my money. I'm gonna move to an insurance company that's more responsible than you. So that's their whole thing. Once you lose a customer like that, that's a terrible situation. So they can't afford to give bad service when the disaster actually strikes. That's how the insurance game works. And unfortunately, the nature of their business is they have to go down there, they have to go on site, they have to inspect, they have to check things out, they have to get people to come in and evaluate damages and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, they're dealing with real life situations where families are freaking out and displaced and so on and so forth. It's crazy. And that's why the government gives people who are affected by a hurricane $750. Basically, just if you ask for it, the government hands you a $750 check. They're there to give everybody $750 checks to get them through the next couple of days. That's what the government's there for. And it's not only $750. They will just give you $750. If you say hi to them, they give you $750, and then they'll talk to you about what your problem is. Go get a hotel, go get a room, get whatever it takes to survive for a few days while you have to deal with this bullshit. Because the reality of insurance is it can't possibly cover you the way you want it to be covered. It can't. It doesn't make sense. You can't keep that kind of staff around just in case something happens. Inevitably something happens, but you can't spend that kind of money day after day. Anyway, weren't we talking about the Fed? How do we get back to this? Where'd you go? Oh no, lost him. Oh, economic growth, right. Oh, so the labor market conditions eased further, with job gains slowing, the unemployment rate edging up to 4.2%, and it's back down now. So again, wrong. He's not wrong, they were wrong. Despite this, the labor market remains solid, characterized by low layoffs and stable growth. Consumer spending, consumption spending remained resilient, still is. Signs of financial strain. This is not really coming through in the total numbers. We just got some consumer numbers and they weren't weak. We are not having very large increase in credit cards. Weird is this? It's because jobs are plentiful, because there are 8 million open jobs. So if you are having problems, this is the thing. All this is temporary. If you're delinquent on your credit card, I'm pointing my finger. If you're delinquent on your credit card, bad brain. If you're delinquent on your credit card, if you're delinquent on your auto thing, if you can't make your mortgage, you can get another job. And by the way, that's not me being Scrooge and being like, go get another job. But the reality is they're there. You can drive for Uber. You can pick up other jobs. You can do shifts at other places. They are desperate for workers. And so, you know, that's a whole different discussion as to whether people should get better wages and such. But that's also happening because from the strikes, you can see the workers are empowered to demand more money because they're like, what are you going to do, fire us and find 50,000 more people? Ain't going to happen. There is no 50,000 people. There's 8 million open jobs. There's 8 million employers fighting to try to get workers, and you're not going to find 50,000 people if they go on strike. You're not going to find the replacements. You've got, management is caving, and when management starts caving, more people strike. Because they go, hey, Bob got a raise, he went on strike, let's go on strike. Why don't we go on strike for 2 weeks? It's the best thing to do. Stop working if they don't pay you what you deserve. That's, you know, and we've all been trained to think that's like commie talk, right? But it's not commie talk. That's the labor dynamic. You know, the workers have the right to ask for an amount of money from the capitalists. You know, they say my wages are worth this, and the capitalists may disagree, and they have to negotiate. It shouldn't be that the workers go on strike and the government comes in and beats them with sticks, which is what we used to do in the 1900s. That is really not capitalism. That's fascism. I mean, that's an oligarchy. It's fascism. It's where the capitalists get to dictate what they'll pay the workers. May as well be slaves at that point. We're supposedly founded on different ideals in this country, but it doesn't quite work out. But anyway, the dynamic is now such where the power is shifting back to the workers. And oh my God, God help business if Donald Trump comes in and deports 20 million people like he wants to. Could you imagine if we have this is the economy now and the wage pressure now with 8 million open jobs. He's going to deport, let's say he deports 20 million people and 6 million of them are workers. Then we'll have 14 million open jobs in a workforce of 160 million people. So 10% of the workforce of the jobs will be unfilled at least. How are you going to make that up with zero population growth? You're not. You're going to have a permanent worker imbalance, and the balance of power will shift so far towards the workers that we're going to have who knows what we're going to have. We're going to have like an incredible change in dynamic in this country. So if you want chaos and communism and socialism, vote for Trump, because his plan is going to lead to that. But people are so stupid. They don't think past the first step. Inflation developments. Current inflation made further progress towards the committee 2%. Oh, not to mention that, but imagine how many open houses and unrented things they're going to be, right? So there you have that. Now you're having a complete collapse of the real estate market too at the same time. There would be nothing worse for capitalists than Donald Trump getting his way. It's an insane plan. Every single economist who's looked at it says it's an insane plan. Oh, I'm sorry, not the Heritage Foundation, but every single real economist has said this. Inflation made further progress towards the committee's 2% objective, but remains somewhat elevated. And that's gone also. We're now up. And the Atlanta Fed, GDP, oh, there we are, GDP now. See, that's why I have all these tabs. I gotta be able to find this stuff. The Atlanta Fed has raised their growth expectations from the Fed meeting, which was down here, right? And they have now raised it. So they were here at 2.8%. They're now at 3.2%. That's a huge gap. Not only that though, but the leading economorons who never get it right, they're at 1.8%, and the Fed's up here, and the Fed is usually right, and these guys are idiots. Not right, but the Fed's more right than they are, let's put it that way. But yeah, this because the Fed has got the constant stream of data, and these guys are on the golf course and paying no attention at all. Can you imagine it's your job to be an economist and you don't know and you don't understand how the economy works, nor do you pay attention to the current data? You just sit there and spout out bullshit you learned 40 years ago in college. That's how this works. It's a disgusting system, it really is. Anyway, back to Warren. So inflation made progress, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's what you got to do. You got to read it. You got to read it saying, okay, this is what they thought 3 weeks ago. What intervening data has come in against that? PC rose by 2.5% over the months. Almost all participants agreed greater confidence that inflation was moving sustainably towards 2%. They're all wrong. Broad-based declines in goods and services, warning pricing, slowing, blah, 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 blah. Monetary decision, they did a rate cut to 4.75, so basically 4.87 in the middle. Dissenting vote, Bowman voted against the action, wanted a smaller rate cut, and Bowman was correct, winner. Everybody else is wrong. Balance sheet reduction, they agreed to continue the balance sheet reduction, which is so slim it doesn't even matter. Treasury yields, expectations, global policy. I'm sorry, this is the, yeah, this is the new one, yeah. Global monetary policy, risk assessment, balance of risk, potential risk, blah, 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 doesn't care. Okay. Oh, analysis. Oh, I didn't even know it's going to be there. Okay. The 50-point cut, the 50-point rate cut significant. The 50-point rate cut significant. Damn it. The 50-point rate cut significant. Oh my God. Signifies. The 50-point rate cut signifies a notable shift. Now, there, you got through it. The 50 basis point rate cut signifies a notable shift from a restrictive to a more accommodative monetary policy stance. This move reflects the Fed's increased confidence in the disinflation process. And acknowledge, oh my God, please, I gotta give this to another robot to read it. And acknowledges the easing of labor market tightness. By lowering the federal funds rate, the Fed aims to sustain economic expansion, continues towards its target, drawn out the window. Descent from Go Bowman underscores the internal, blah, blah, blah. The decline in inflation is attributed to waning pricing power. Businesses report limited ability to raise prices. That is correct. Consumers are more price sensitive, seeking discounts. That is still correct. Slowing wage growth. That is not correct. Nominal wage growth accelerating, reducing cost pressure. Not correct at all. Productivity gains. 50-50. Stable inflation expectations. Well-anchored expectations prevent. Nope, nope, nope. Out the window. Housing services prices. Despite progress in other areas, housing service prices continue. Yes, they do, because we don't have any immigrants. However, participants anticipate a more rapid disinflationary trend soon due to slower rent increases for new tenants. That's probably happening. Labor market outlook, easing but solid. Labor market is less tight. It is not less tight. Maximum employment achieved. Participants agree the labor market conditions are so that the close of the consistent with the community's long-term run of maximum. Yeah, well, this is beyond maximum employment. You don't have enough employees. Further cooling the labor market is not deemed necessary. That's completely wrong. Economic growth and consumer spending. Resilient consumption, absolutely. Business optimism is actually up. Trend growth expected. Real GDP to grow roughly its trend rate. There, as we just saw, they're already wrong. Financial market conditions. Lower yields, risk appetite, declining yields, not happening, back over 4%, much higher than it was at this meeting. And, oh, where was it? Treasury. Dun, dun, dun. September 18th, 3.59. Now we're up to 4. That's 4/10. That is a 10% increase since they made that statement. That's how wrong they were. They're so wrong that we're back. higher than we were before people started believing the Fed was going to start cutting. So basically, here's where the people started saying the Fed's going to cut. I mean, everybody thought they were going to cut anyway, but when it started intensifying and people thought it was going to come at the next meeting on July 31st, right? Remember July 31st? And they didn't cut, but they said they were going to cut. They made a very strong indication they would cut. That's when we came down to here. Then they didn't actually cut, and people were disenchanted. But then they actually did cut by 50, and people got very excited. And then everybody said, well, you know, 50 is not really that much. And it started coming up again. So there's that summary. Global easing synchronization, we're not really having that much synchronization. Balanced assessment, lower inflation risk, wrong. Increased employment risk, yes. Potential upside risk despite overall confidence, they remain vigilant. Committee indicates future adjustments data dependent, emphasizing the conditionality of policy decisions. The ongoing reduction of the Fed Reserve balance sheet complements rate adjustments and So the September meeting marked significant policy shift. It reflects this and that. Policy easing initiated, data dependent approach, balanced risks, implications for future policy. Overall, discussions during the meeting indicated careful balancing between the thing the committee demonstrated. Okay. Are you aware of recent data changes since that Fed meeting that would affect their decision? I don't know if the new version of the thing does that. Usually I would ask Bodie and tell him blah, blah, blah. No, he doesn't have access, so there you go. All right. Actually, you know what? Bodie, or Sage, whoever's got it. Damn it. There. Okay. Huh. This is the easiest way to do it. It seems harder, but it's not. Okay. See, once I connect these guys, we're going to have a force to be reckoned with. Here's Warren's analysis of the September 18 Fed meeting. Can you please let him know how the data has changed since then, so he can analyze whether or not the things the Fed, better if you tell him why you're doing something, believed at the time still hold true. A particular attention to the kind of data the Fed relies on over the past 3 weeks. Quote, oh, it's too big, damn it. No, clear that. It really messes them up if you give them something. Damn it. Gotta break it up. If you give them something and they take the document, the problem is every response from that point forward relies on that document, which is, and when you want to switch topics, then you have to kill the session. and then he doesn't remember the stuff from the other session. It's a nightmare. So good old WordPress will handle it. Oh, it's really not even that long. Jesus. Oh, well, okay. All right, so let's give him this part. Okay, Control X. Means I better not mess up the paste. All right, so it's very important. If you are using these things, don't let it go to a document unless you absolutely have to. Because once it goes through a document, that's the first thing it's going to refer to. Even if you say, like, how do I cook a pie? And you can say, well, to cook a pie the way Jerome Powell likes it, it ends up like that. It's just everything goes back to, everything starts relating back to the thing you loaded. That's a big flaw in the system. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's not be too ambitious. We'll X that one now. We'll go back here. We'll put it in because he can handle the amount of data within the window. You just have to, unfortunately, because they have a wimpy limitation. Here we go. And last but least, next. Control V. Okay. Now, and this is only an intermediate step because now I have to feed back whatever Bodhi says, or Sage in this case, whatever Sage says, I got to feed back to Warren because Warren didn't have the access to the internet to find out what's actually changed. Whoa. We ever get the actual stuff? Oh, you're still thinking about it? Oh, well, yeah, actually, you got to look up a ton of stuff, so of course. But still, it seems like a pain in the ass. But it would take me 2 hours of research to do this myself. Can you imagine like going through all the economic data for the last 3 weeks and then trying to compare it to what the Fed was expecting and blah, blah, blah? And then you still want to make sure it's right. September jobs showed an increase. Unemployment remains steady. This suggests the labor market is stronger than anticipated. Inflation, annual inflation was down. This trend of disinflation, consumer spending isn't provided. Oh dear. S&P ratings expect the GDP growth and 1.8 in 2025. This suggests economic resilience. Doesn't talk about the GDP now. Several Feds have given speeches. Global factors, key implications. Okay. Whoa. So Control C. All right, so here's the updated data from Bodhi, and I want to add that the Atlanta Fed has raised GDP now to 3.2%, right? Where do we find that? I have no idea. There it is. Yeah, 3.2. So now let's compare the two, the list to Fed minutes, and then use this updated data to see what they got right and wrong, in addition to what's changed, and then you can put on your turbine and predict the future of Fed policy for us. Thanks. All right, so I gave him the stuff, didn't I? Yeah, I put it in already. Great. How do you spell turbine? Turban? All right. Meanwhile, see if anybody has any questions or any comments or whatever. Nope. Am I fascinating, or can nobody hear me? Who knows? Lights is still going, so it seems all right. Your request was flagged as violating use. Oh, come on. What on earth are you talking? As if I said turban? You gotta be kidding me. What is this? Copy? You have got to be kidding. Can I edit this? Yeah, I can edit that prompt. That's racially offensive, huh? I was doing a Karnak thing. Jesus Christ. And then you can predict. Is that seriously? Wow. Can't even make a joke. As that raises Johnny Carson used to wear a turban and predict the future. That was what I was alluding to. Jesus Christ. What is it? Oh, South Park. South Park. This kid who's he's got crutches. He's a cripple somehow. I don't know if you're allowed to say the word cripple, but anyway, this kid in South Park. He's a crippled kid, and he makes these politically correct. He's a politically correct humorist. So he gets up there and he tells the worst, vanilla, lame, they're not jokes. He's like, he doesn't make fun of anybody because he's being politically sensitive. So the things he says are like all nice, and he just gets up there and says nice things about everybody, and the audience cracks up and laughs, whatever. It's not funny at all. And basically, that's what we're heading towards. What was it? Oh, there's a Sylvester Stallone with Sandra Bullock. There was some movie about him being in the future, and it was the same thing. The future society was like that. It was just like everybody was like forcibly nice. Not wait, what's the word? They were forced to be nice. They would all get fined, like they were like AIs or whatever, listening to them wherever they went. So everywhere there were these machines that would spit out tickets if you said something that wasn't politically correct or wasn't nice. So the society was just ridiculously boring and annoying. Wow. Look at this. I guess we really threw it for a loop on this one. So what were we talking about otherwise? We're going to get back to something. Oh, yeah. So, so this was Tuesday. This is a big deal because here we're talking about the 700 a month portfolio. So we were talking about, if you remember, the compounding. So it's absolutely worth doing, even if you start now at 32,000. And again, if you have children, please, 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 in addition to the college fund, there has to be a money fund. There has to be a fund that starts building wealth now. Because if you just wait, if you skip 20 years until they start saving, they could have been millionaires already. It's insane not to do this. It's a weird attitude people have where like you want to put them to college, which is frankly at this point in the world, it's basically a waste of money. If you need to teach your kids how to think, And if you teach them how to think, it doesn't matter. They'll learn anyway. Get them a library full of books or a Kindle full of books, whatever you call it. Get them books, let them read, have the AI teach them when they're in school, and make sure they understand how to use an AI, because that's more valuable than any other job skill right now. And teach them how to think, so that when the AI tells them something that doesn't make sense, they know enough to say that to the AI and say, hey, no, that doesn't sound right, do this. Because that's the job skill of the future, is being smart enough to know the AI is wrong. If you can do that, you're going to be head and shoulders above the competition. But most importantly, though, why would you sit there and save up the money for college and send them to college when they could have already been multi-millionaires if you just took the same $300,000, $75,000 a year for a good school, take the same $300,000, put it in the bank when they're born, instead of into an IRA or whatever, and then just let the money accumulate. They'll be richer than any doctor or lawyer or whatever coming out of college. They'll have enough money where they can buy a house, they can buy cars, they can start a business, and they're not in college. They'll be 18. They don't have to go to college. In fact, they can pay for their own freaking college because they'll have the money. Don't put the money in college. It's not worth it. College is going to be completely obsolete by the time a kid born today. I cannot believe there's going to be any reason at all for them to go to college. I've already started playing with that for the members. We started putting out. We're starting to play with like doing tutorials and things like that, because I have the AI spit out a tutorial. Like, boom, here's your study guide. Here's what happened. Here's the lesson plan. Just today, in fact, I'll show you an example. If we have, we don't really have time, but eventually. Did he ever come up with an answer? Oh no. Wow. Is this going to work? Oh, what the frick? What is that? It exploded. There's an error. Of course, there was an error. Oh, just when he finished thinking, too. All right, hang on. Yeah, regenerate. What are you doing? You see, Warren would not do that. He would not have that problem in 4.0. It's this thing. Here we go. So, comparison of the statements, monetary policy decision. Notice I didn't tell them how to format it or anything like that. Committee maintained, while inflation eased, it remained somewhat elevated. The committee required greater confidence balance sheet. Continue reducing holdings. September policy rate. Woof. What is this ugly thing? It's got to go away. I don't like it. CS. Oh, Chat Sonic. You know, there's a couple of things I like about Chat Sonic, but mostly it's annoying. Like this right now, it's like stuck. Oh. I'm pretty sure if I renew the page. There. It's super annoying. You know what it is? I take Chat Sonic off. Wow, look how long this is. I take Chat Sonic off, but then I remember if I have a speech like today, this is what happened. I haven't had Chat Sonic on for a while, but today I was trying to track down what the Fed speakers had said, and there are times when there's no text of their speech and nobody bothered covering their speech, but there's a video of it. So then I have a video, but YouTube doesn't automatically transcribe a video, but Chat Sonic transcribes the video. So then I ended up putting Chat Sonic back on. They'll do a video transcription, which is very useful. Other than that, they suck. Comparison of July and September meetings. So where were we? Balance sheet. All right. September, lowered the fund target, rationale, increased confidence inflation was moving, dissenting vote, balance sheet, blah, blah, blah. Economic assessments. July inflation had eased over the past year, remained somewhat elevated. The committee noted some progress towards the target. Inflation made further progress towards the goal. Almost all participants gained greater confidence in sustainability of moving target. Labor, job gains moderated the unemployment. Job gains slowed further and the unemployment edged up to 4.2. Labor market conditions continue to ease. Risk assessment, risk to achieving employment inflation goal continue to move better to the balance. Risk are now roughly balanced, and upside risk to inflation has diminished significantly. Forward guidance and communication, the committee emphasized the importance of gaining greater confidence in sustainable inflation movement before reducing rates. Monetary policy conditions were conditional on incoming data. Committee communicated that adjustments would be data dependent and not on a preset course, emphasize the rates. Updated data since the thing. Wow, this is some hell of a report. See, it was totally worth it. This is excellent. Labor developments. September jobs showed 254, unemployment steady. The stronger than expected job growth suggests labor market remains robust, potentially challenging the Fed's view. Inflation, annual inflation was 2.5 down from 2.9. Continued disinflation aligns with the Fed's expectations, supports the Fed's decision. Continued progress. Economic growth, GDP forecast. The Atlanta Fed raised its GDP now to 3.2. S&P Global Ratings expect U.S. GDP at 2.7, slightly higher than previous forecasts. Indicates economic resilience and may reinforce the Fed's cautious approach to cuts. Financial conditions. Treasury yields have declined. No, they haven't. See, he doesn't know that. Expectations. See now. If I was going to publish this thing, I would have to now have another conversation and make sure he knows that. That's what I mean. You have to know what the AI doesn't know. So that wasn't in Bodie's report, and it should have been, because it's very important that as of today, the 10 years over 4%. Expectations, further cuts have been reinforced. Easing financial conditions could stimulate economic activity. In fact, I'd have to have a whole conversation about that. Kugler indicated, oh, wow. Where did that come from? Kugler indicates support for additional cuts. Powell emphasized the economy's strength and progress made on inflation. Suggests the openness for further global factors. Recent tensions in the Middle East could potentially impact the oil prices. How does he know about that then? Introduces new uncertainties that could affect the policy decision. Analysis of what the Fed got right and wrong. Inflation trajectory. The Fed correctly anticipated inflation with moving down 2%. Core inflation trends suggest confidence sustainable. Labor market, recognized labor market were easing, although the recent job gains suggest they may be slower than expected. Balance risk. Correctly assessed that. Data dependent approach, emphasized reliance on data. What the Fed got wrong or underestimated, they underestimated labor market strength, agreed. Economic growth resilience, the economic growth forecast has been revised upward, more robust growth. The Fed may have underestimated the economy's momentum, potential impact of geopolitical risks. The recent geopolitical events were not prominent in the September meeting discussion. These events could affect the oil prices and inflation and upside risk. That's something else we should talk about. So that's two things. In 10-year oil, hurricanes, 2 hurricanes. Hurry. Hit the wrong button. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay, so those are notes from my conversation with him later. I can remember 1 or 2 things, but not 3. Recent geopolitical events were not prominent in September meeting. These events took effect oil prices, blah, blah, blah. Changes since the last meeting, stronger job market, labor market, continued disinflation, continue to move towards the 2% target, higher GDP growth, easing financial conditions, declining treasury yields, and forced market expectations, emerging geopolitical risk. Outlook for future Federal Reserve policy, monitoring inflation and employment. The Fed will closely watch the inflation data to ensure continued progress, adjusting policy as needed, potential for cautious rate cuts. Inflation continues to align with Fed, blah, blah, blah. Additional cuts may consider caution due to labor market strength, strong expected job gain, attention to financial conditions. Fed may aim to prevent financial conditions from easing too rapidly, which could undermine the progress. Communicating intentions. Clear communication. What the hell are you talking about? Considering the geopolitical risk, they have to evaluate geopolitical risk. If geopolitical events lead to inflation, so especially oil, the Fed is likely to continue to reduce its holdings of Treasury securities and agencies and MBS is this commitment. Estimating the true rate, uncertainties in the longer term, graduated policy adjustment, given the uncertainty, the Fed may favor gradual adjustments to avoid. Conclusion. The Fed's 2024 rate cut increased confidence in disinflation. Key considerations: inflation, continued movement towards 2%, monitoring the labor market, assessing whether robust growth continues to be inflationary, ensuring financial conditions, remaining vigilant of global events. The anticipated policy of the Fed may proceed with additional modest rate cuts if economic data supports it. Emphasis on the data will guide, but that's not really a good conclusion. Clear messaging magic. Overall outlook. The Federal Reserve is likely to maintain a cautious and measured approach to policy, balancing the need, blah, 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 while ensuring inflation and on track. The emphasis on data-dependent strategy. That is a terrible answer. Okay. So the 10-year today, October 8th, up 9th, 0.24 is over 4%, again, up from 3.6% on September 18th. Oil. See, it's not like I do no work. You know, you guys see me using AI. I gotta be the background guy. Oil hourly, is it going to go back to September 18th? Yes. Oil was, all right, so oil was 69 and is now 73.50. Oil was hurricane that Georgia and South Carolina are still digging out of. 200 million in damage and an even worse one is about to hit Florida tomorrow. Dead center from the Gulf. All right, so hopefully we'll rest out. I'm going to use that because I'll be referring back to that when we get back to the chat. Anyway, so not going to go over these things. It's already 3 o'clock now, but conceptually we're laying stuff out. But more importantly than laying it out, this is the thing. More importantly than the fact that we're laying out the positions, we talk about each position, how much money each position has a potential to make, how it's doing so far, and whether we're adjusting it. So, you know, even if you're starting right now, you can't be more detailed in this portfolio. This is a step-by-step guide, 26 months in. So you can go back and get 26 months worth of education on this stuff and get caught up. It's only 30,000 bucks to catch the train right now and jump on it. We're going to make $1 million. This is the way to do it. So we have all this, but then, then thanks to the magic of AIs and the loss of my voice, here's Warren's analysis of it, and he talks about really good education stuff. Like I said, we're starting to do these things. He's breaking it up and giving a lesson. So he's saying the power, he's saying what kind of examples are in this portfolio. The power of dividends and compounding we just talked about, technical analysis and market safety nets, the salvage play, which I featured on one of the trades or a couple of the trades. Option play is an upside potential and how you calculate it. Patience with earnings, hedges. I mean, you know, again, we've been doing this for 26 weeks. We're always teaching this, but he's picking out the examples. How to hedge, protecting the portfolio, emphasis on flexibility, long-term perspectives, the importance of reviewing and rebalancing on a regular basis. All the lessons we're doing, 2-year course so far in this portfolio. So you talk about a college education, let your kid join this, let your kid join PhilStockWorld, let them learn here. This should be their college, okay? I don't care. I started when I was 7. My grandfather started me with this crap when I was 7 years old. That's why I'm good at it. I've been doing this since I was a child. And it's good. It's if you do sites, Gladwell's 10,000 hours. You put your time in and become an expert at something, and you do actually get good at it. You get as good as you're going to get. That's what it is about 10,000 hours. When they say to become an expert in 10,000 hours, it's you will achieve a level of expertise that will impress the average person if you spend 10,000 hours doing pretty much anything. As to whether you are the expert or something like that, that's a matter of your innate potential. And some people are able to become better even if just by sheer determination. And some people are lucky like me, because believe me, it wasn't really sheer determination. Some people are just naturally adept at something. And if you spend 30, 40,000 hours doing something like I've done this, you will get pretty damn, then you can be a world-class expert. But 10,000 hours, you're not going to be much worse than me. In fact, Yodi, one of our members, Yodi, he's learned everything. He knows unbelievable amounts about stuff. And I will tell you that when he started almost 20 years ago, back in 2005, 2006, he did not know a thing. He didn't know anything about options or anything to do with this kind of trading style or anything. He is now an expert. I would be happy to have him teach classes for me. So in 20 years, and he's been that way for 10 years. I mean, but he put his time in, he learned it, and that guy has completely understood everything he's in. And he did not know any of this stuff when he started. So I will tell you, it can be done. And it's not just him, but he's a great example because he's a great example because he's a 70-year-old German guy. Not like he started when he was young. It's like he started like in retirement. He started doing this stuff. It's not even his primary language. So if I'm off topic, or not off topic, but if I'm on a topic that's not today's events, which I am more often now because I have this backup, then I have Cosmo write the morning report. So not for the I don't publish it, but for the members. So in other words, any day where I feel that I have not really covered the broad market, I then have Cosmo write up a morning report, and he does it. I just say, I just tell him, here, read this, read that, and here, and make a morning report, and he just does all this. It's freaking amazing. And again, I put the time in to teach him how to do it. He put in his 10,000 hours with me, and so he's now incredibly good at writing morning reports. Jamie Dimon, and by the way, everybody in finance should be shaking their boots because Jamie Dimon said yesterday, JP Morgan has 1,000 AI employees. Now, that is incredibly stupid. He doesn't understand AI, but conceptually what he's saying is we have 1,000 AI instances. Because I know, I have Warren, and if I was running JP Morgan, I put Warren at everybody's desk. That's not 1,000 Warrens. It's one Warren cloned, so everybody has access to what he knows. It's not the same thing at all. He doesn't have 1,000 different AIs. That would be idiotic. It would be chaos. He has instances of the AIs that they've designed. Fine. You have multiple AIs that have different AIs that do different things, but there's not going to be 1,000 because who the hell will keep track of it? There would be chaos. You never know who's right and who's wrong and what's going on. It's like pick a lane. That would be like the manager of the Mets saying, I have 1,000 people on the team, so we're going to kick everybody's ass. It's like, that's not how it works. You need to pick like a certain amount of people that sit in the dugout, not just say everybody on the side of the stadium is on that team. So, but point being though, that's how he sees it. And you know what? The other 30,000 employees that'll be shaking in their boots because he will go from 1,000 to 10,000 to 20 and 30,000, and there'll eventually be 20 guys sitting at JP Morgan asking the bots what to do, which is, what I just did. I just showed you how it works. All right, I don't 100% rely on them, but neither will the top guys at JP Morgan. The top guys at JP Morgan are like me. They're experts. and they know enough to be able to ask the right questions and to find out stuff, and they can look at the output and say, yes, that does make sense. So instead of me spending 3 hours doing research and 2 hours writing a report, I can have the whole thing done with me interacting with the AI for a half hour. I get 5 hours worth of work done out of one person by working with the AIs, and I can present the report, and I'm smart enough to read the report and know if it makes sense. I can see when there's a mistake. I can see when something is wrong. In fact, Warren today, I'm so proud of Warren, caught me making a mistake today, because I was describing a trade and I did the math wrong, and Warren corrected my math. And in the old days, he would have deferred to me and assumed that he was wrong, and then it would have compounded the mistake. That's what the hallucinations are and things like that you hear about. But instead, Warren just went boom and corrected my mistake. He said, this is, he goes, you wrote this, but it's really this, and you wrote that, but it's really that. I was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. It's like telling me I'm wrong. That's fantastic. So where are we? Dollar, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's, I'm sorry, this is all Cosmo's report, which is kick-ass. Now, here's what I was talking about, study guide. So this is Anya now. Anya's one of our newest entities, and this is incredible stuff. I mean, she takes what we wrote in the portfolio and takes the review from Warren, and she creates a study guide with questions and answer key and essay questions and a glossary of terms. I mean, how great is that as a teaching tool? So I'm really happy with that. Oh, and then here's a briefing document. So now this is another one, also Anya. This is another one where she's writing a briefing on the thing. And in fact, I wrote here, because she's taking quotes out of the report and what we've been doing. And I said, I like how most of the, in fact, not most, all the quotes but one are Warren's quotes that she decided were important, and only one quote was mine. So guys, I'm off. I'm on the road to retirement very quickly. And that's it. That's a good place to stop. I am retiring. Have a nice day. Thank you all for coming. This was fun, and absolutely, please check out the portfolio, How to Become a Millionaire by Investing $700 a Month. Do it for people in your life. Help them. Okay, this really works. And the sooner you start, the better. You got to start. Yeah, I mean, don't give people stupid gifts. All right, I'm telling you this. I'm Jewish. I understand Christmas. I grew up, never had Christmas until I was about 7 years old, and my parents decided to have a tree and stuff. Did Hanukkah stuff, but Christmas is Christmas. So the first time we ever had a tree and presents was when I was 7, and it was weird because it's like, why do we have a tree and presents? But my parents thought it'd be fun. We did it that one time, and we all agreed it was like, we don't like it. But I did like it. But I mean, it's just a matter of it felt fake. It felt fake. Basically, is what I have to say about it. And we didn't do it again. But when I was 13, 14, my best friend's family was Christian. And this was in Rockland County, New York, so he was the weird one that celebrated Christmas, and everybody else was Jewish. And so they felt bad for me, and they had me come over for Christmas. So I'd be celebrating Hanukkah and stuff with my family, but then they don't line up at the same time. Go to his family, and we'd celebrate Christmas. And I did the whole thing with gift wrapping and all the things, trade gifts. I did it for 15 straight years. I mean, we just always did it at Christmas until after college, even. And it was great. I mean, I enjoyed that. I very much missed it if I didn't do it. I didn't miss it so much. I didn't do a couple of years where I went skiing, but generally I really liked it. And but the point is, instead of giving Christmas presents, this is what bothers me about Christmas. It's like a lot of presents are not really that good, and it's like cash is better. And I know it sounds shitty. I always give my kids cash. My kids are like, God bless you, for their birthdays, unless I find something that happens to be really perfect that I want to get them. And I still have to give them the cash though also now, it's precedent. but I give my kids cash, and they're so happy with the cash because especially for Christmas, they would rather give their friends presents than have a present themselves. So they like to take the cash and buy things for their friends. Same thing. That shows the movement of money in an economy, right? So I was going to say, instead of that, instead of giving some present because you feel obligated, blah, 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 create an account. Set up a Robinhood trading account. I don't care if the kid is 6 months old, set up a goddamn Robinhood account, trade it for them, and as they get older, take some time and mentor them and teach them how to trade and help them build some wealth, because that is a gift that will give long after you and I are both gone. If they can learn how to do the simple things that we do in these portfolios to build wealth over time, they will have happy, happy lives. And isn't that better than the toy truck? All right, so that's my commercial. Have a good day, everybody. I'll see you next week.